Terrific. Well, welcome everyone. This is our monthly OPA call, and with the invitation of our guide and presidential master coordinator, Rob Loomis, a number of us business leaders on his team take turns and share the opportunity to just do a monthly call with some ideas for each one of us. And so my name is Carolyn Whiteman. I live in the Florida Keys, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the ones that was actually sponsored by Mary and Gary Loomis, by Rob's parents. I'm trying to figure out if this slide is right, but oh well, it is what it is. I was sponsored by Rob's parents, Mary and Gary, and at the time I was just finishing university, doing some traveling and things, and had no real background in business, but I was brought into the Loomis family at the same time that Rob was just leaving for Harvard Law School. And so my progression in the business really came as a result of being mentored by the Loomises. And so the term OPA, which is the business family that we are particularly in, the term OPA stands for Organic Products Associates. And that was a name that was created by the vision of Mary Loomis, who at that time, even in those very young years of the Shackley business, she could see that the business would grow beyond the point where people would know the Loomis organization or the Whiteman organization or the David Swain organization or the Holdren organization or the Madoran organization or the Sheraton organization. None of us had that kind of vision at the time, but Mary did. And she wanted to have an umbrella family name of our entire business organization. So we welcome all of those of you that are in our same family, but at the same time, we really celebrate the fact that our business includes many of our team partners who are not necessarily in our own business organization. So we welcome all of you. And with thanks to Sue and Scott Holdren, who are kind of our behind the scenes magicians here, they will help to make our technology work. And they also are the ones who record these calls. They make them available for you on archive. And those are available at opastuff.org. And so after this presentation is finished, Scott will do whatever he does, and it will probably be posted there on that site, along with the other monthly calls that you can go back and reference. So this is just a welcome to all the rest of us in our business team, and particular acknowledgement to a couple of guests that we have tonight that are not even in our business organization. So what I thought I would do is I will start with sharing my screen, and I will bring up just some thoughts that I wanted to share. And these really are thoughts that come from a background. Sorry, I got to get to the beginning here. These are thoughts that really come. Can you see this now? Are we up? Okay. So these are thoughts that really come to us from my focus now on the legacy that we have in Shackley and the future that is ahead of us. And how, if we think about the generational changes that have happened over the years that many of us have been in the business, and then specifically focus at where we're going. Because as we look at our younger generation that's coming along, they're the ones who will be carrying the torch for us to take this wonderful philosophy and heritage that we've had from our business. So I thought I would just start out by reflecting a little bit on where we've been. And then I want to bring in a couple of our guests who actually grew up in the business at that time and yet have come in newly now. So I'd like to just start out. This is really our focus on from our legacy to our young entrepreneurs. So the question is, let's take a look at where we've come from in the past 65 years plus that Shackley has been around. And of course, it really goes back more than 100 years if we think about Dr. Shackley's heritage, the philosophy that really created the whole foundation of our business and company. So let's first of all start here. Let me get rid of this. Hold on. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Be gentle on me, will you? Just be gentle. Just be gentle. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look at what have been some of the core commitments of Shackley that are our foundation. And from these core commitments, and remember this all began in 1956, which was well before anyone had many concerns for these kinds of things. But this is part of the philosophy and heritage that Dr. Shackley gave to us. Replacing sick care with well care, really being focused on the fundamental of good health, concern for the planet. Shackley was green long before it was fashionable to be green. And looking at the opportunity for people to create income, to have an equal earning opportunity. These were foundational things at the core of the business that was started formally in 1956. And all grounded, of course, in the best of science combined with the best of nature. These were really, really far out things for people to be considering. They just were not mainstream at all. But those were always the foundational things that Shackley brought to us. So the issue of health, Shackley focusing on health, which being about prevention. And in realizing that, I love this little slide over here, pay the doctor, we pay the doctor to make us better, but we should really pay the farmer to keep us healthy. Doesn't that sound like a Dr. Shackley comment, who grew up on a farm and brought us the best of nature? So the focus on wellness, not sick care, with this wonderful 100+ year of history of product development. And then now having this proactive focus on wellness and prevention. When we look at things like, I love this other slide here. If I can move this, when we focus, well, hold on here. The pharmaceutical industry doesn't really create cures. They create customers, because most of us have had the experience of getting involved in, or having family and parents that get involved in this pharmaceutical maze that isn't really focused on prevention. I had a question asked of me. I had a routine conversation with a medical person, and they said something about, well, you know, I see here's a prescription for omegas. Are you following that prescription? And I'm going, are you serious? We've been doing this thing for decades. It's like they look at us like we're so strange. That's a prescription? You're gonna be kidding me. So, and then when we take a look at protecting the planet, that was a Dr. Shackley vision long before anyone cared about that. And so when we think about the Shackley heritage, we were green before it was a movement. 1970, that very first official Earth Day product was the Shackley Basic Age. First company ever certified climate neutral. That is just landmark pioneering things before anyone really even could put those words together. One of Oprah's favorite products in our Get Clean products, working with Nobel Prize winners, the Nobel Peace Prize for the green movement, having this kind of credibility behind us, Jacques Cousteau and the Calypso, that kind of heritage, working with the Daedalus Project, working with the first team to ever summit Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen, the explorers in the Arctic and the Antarctic. I mean, this kind of heritage that we've had is just really pretty extraordinary. And then when you look at our heritage also, being able to create some income. And what were people focused on in our original days of the business? Well, probably the independence of being able to own a business. And I know Scott will talk about that with his family. The possibilities for duplication, realizing that there were things that, that you actually could create multiplication. And one that I think is very lesser discussed, and that is that this is a performance-based business that has no exclusion for people, whether what color they are, whether they're a woman or a man, what age they are, what heritage they come from, what their formal education is. And honestly, I think this is one of the things that was a motivation for me, because I had the same 4-year degree and paid the same tuition that everybody else did in my class. And the guys were sent to management training, and I was told I need to learn to type and take shorthand. I thought, my tuition was the same as yours. I got the same grades and I was in the same class. And so there was something about the performance-based business that it was like, well, they didn't care. If you produced, you got paid. So when we talk about what was before, let's think about, and I'm going to bring in Scott and Karen and maybe some of the others of you, but what did we have to work with before? Well, what we had to work with before was no internet. We had no electronic payments. We had no chat rooms. We had no Zoom. We had no email. We had no social media. We had no direct shipping. We handled and repackaged everything. And as Scott says, we had to buy it in case lots and sell it individually. We had no direct shipping. We had no direct deposit. We had no mobile phones. We had no PowerPoint. Basically, the long distance communications that we had, depending on whether you're on the East or the West Coast, I would learn to initiate my long distance phone calls in the cheap rates. Now, people can't even relate to that stuff, but you made cheaper phone call rates if you called before 8 in the morning or after 11 o'clock at night. So depending on where you were in the country, that's where you made your phone calls, because you couldn't afford to make phone calls when it was expensive in the middle of the day. So when we think about, that's what the business was, but what made it work? And this is what I think will come up as we talk about how is the business not changed? What made it work? Personal conversations, communications, developing a trust in the person that you're working with, and then developing as a leader or representative of the products, a trust in the company, a trust in our personal experience, a trust in, gosh, some of us got to listen to Dr. Shackley, and having that kind of trust that we could work with. And then our personal stories. And really what actually made it work is we just went out to see the people. We just spent time together. It was personal communication. Well, guess what? There are a lot of similarities still left. So we took the heritage that Dr. Shackley gave us, and yet now look what's happening. Look at what's happening now. So the issues of the current decade now are traditional employee models are changing, childcare issues are changing, people have enormous financial challenges. And what does a stable future even look like? I'll tell you what, if you watched 60 Minutes last night, when they talked about imposing I can't even use the right words, but it was artificial intelligence. And you could take a picture of Scott Palmer and have Scott Palmer say something, and you could completely duplicate it on the computer using Scott's voice, using Scott's facial expression, and have him say something 180 degrees different from what he would actually say. And you would absolutely believe it. So when we talk about stable career futures and what we're looking ahead at, holy cow, it's hard to even imagine. And as these career expectations are shifting, now where are we? We're in a Zoom world. Our jobs are transitioning right there to artificial intelligence and to robots. And we're now in a digital world where people are hungry for that very same connection that we started with as we developed our business. Millennials are looking for meaning and for purpose and for something that can sustain them. And so what do we offer? Well, we call it the Young Entrepreneurs Project. And so as we think about where we've been, and now we focus on the Young Entrepreneurs Project, what is it we have to offer? Well, we get to partner with a global company with an impeccable 65-year track record. We get to address these very critical and timely needs of preventive health, of peak performance. We can offer legitimate, lasting incomes working from home. We provide comprehensive training for qualified partners. And so as a person, as you learn more about our projects, we invite you to help pass along some of these options to people because they need what it is we have to offer. Look at the credibility that we get to bring working with astronauts since 1993. There's a Commander Mark Kelly up in space with his vitalizer strip, 2 Nobel Prize winners, over 100 Olympians with the Shackley Pure Performance team. It is now 151 Olympic medals from people that have used and trained on these products. And you know, as a country, Shackley would be tied for 8th in Olympic medal performance. And yet we have the same consumable products that are reused every month. I just had a conversation not 72 hours ago with a friend of mine who I realized how long we'd known each other. I met her through her mother. We were trying to figure out what the connection was. And she's now living in Maryland. Her parents were living in Florida. And I said, how long have we known each other? And she came back a little bit later and she says, I met you in November of 1971. Now, can you believe that? And here she is back as a really active customer now, talking about her kids and her grandkids. So this is the message that I'd like for us to be able to really communicate for us tonight, is these decades of satisfied and repeat customers, because this is the most solid kind of a base that anyone would want as a customer. So I'd like to introduce you to a couple of colleagues that are here with us tonight. And we're going to do this as a dialogue, and there may be some others of you that have things to offer. But I first want to introduce you to our friend Scott Palmer and his wife Lily. Scott is a master coordinator, and he's got a beautiful story. He's a Tom Brady fan, which, holy cow, somebody was reporting the scores of the games last night because they played the Miami Dolphins. And they said, well, there are only 2 words you have to say about that: Tom Brady. It's like, holy cow, that's a pretty decent kind of a role model to look up to. So I want to introduce you to Scott Palmer. And I also want to introduce you to Karen Sullivan. And neither of these people are part of the general OPA family, but they're colleagues that we get to work with. And I think they have particularly fun stories to share as we talk about the original Shackley and where we are now. Karen is not only a wife and a mom, she's got a heritage as a fitness instructor, she's a health educator, she's an author. And yet she also grew up as a Shackley kid, as did Scott. So I'd like to have the opportunity to just introduce the 2 of you. And Scott, maybe you'd like to start out and just tell us, remind us your story and how this connects these stories as we're talking about it. How does that connect with you, the past and where we are, the present and where we're going?
Well, when you tell that story, Carolyn, I thought you might be referring to somebody in my family, because November of 1971 was the time we started. That was the year Palmer Enterprises started in Shackley. So it was 50 years ago. And I think it may have been November. So maybe that was somebody in my family, maybe my mom. But in any event, we did have a great start in Shackley. It was a lot of fun. As a young kid, I got to see the business grow from the ground floor up. And in that time frame in Minneapolis, there were a lot of dynamic master coordinators in Minneapolis, and so the environment was very stimulating. It was very motivating. And so I had a chance to grow up with Al Hagerman's kids and Bob Hoker's kids and the Hoffmans. The list goes on. There were so many families there, and we'd see each other at the airport on the way to conventions every single year, and had so much fun. And growing up in that environment was was really interesting because the more success we had, the more motivated we became. And so after each convention, I talked to my mom and dad and say, okay, what do you need to do to qualify for next year's convention? Because I want to see all my friends. So I was kind of their best sales manager. I was driving them right from the start. And so when I got out of college, I started a career in sales, and I ended up moving to the East Coast, and I met my wife, who's pictured here. She's the better half, without a doubt. So she was my sales trainer at a medical device company, and Johnson and Johnson. And so they told everybody in the big meeting when you first started J&J, HR says, whatever you do, do not date anybody you work with. So what do? We started dating, and now we have 2 kids. One of them is a freshman in college. So we do have a lot of fun. We love to adventure. We love to travel. We did have a chance to go to the Super Bowl last year. Brady is, we're big fans of the Patriots and Brady and what they stand for, because, Brady he's an unsung hero. He came late in the draft, a 6th round draft pick. He works harder than anybody else. And, we know people through our business careers that have worked with the Patriots as business consulting coaches. And they always say, whenever you go down to Foxborough and you consult with that team, the first person that shows up for every meeting is Tom Brady. He sits in the first row. He's got paper and a pen, and he takes notes. And he's always the guy that's working harder and studying harder than anybody else. And he also is a huge believer in protein shakes and health and wellness. He's even got his own brand. It's not as good as Shackley, but he's like the walking spokesperson for health and wellness. And it just I think it kind of illustrates your 3 points, Carolyn. Number 1, replace sick care with well care. That really resonates with me, coming from the healthcare business, because I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly of healthcare. I saw all the priorities and incentives geared towards more surgery and prescribing more drugs. And I like this side of the equation much better. And it reminds me of a tweet that I saw this week from a physician on Twitter. He said, this is Dr. Amos. He's an internal medicine specialist. He said, soon we will have 2 societies of doctors, the ones that keep you in denial, sell you drugs, and make more money for big pharma, the others that inspire you to tackle your lifestyle head on and take control of your own health. And that was from Dr. Amos. And the other thing,
wow, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah, very, very. And the other thing I love about Shackley, it's what makes it so believable, is the environmental side of it. It's a big thing right now. If you're a Gen Z or a millennial, you have to be ESG friendly, environmental, societal, and governance. You have to have an ESG friendly portion to your company if you're going to appeal to Gen Z and millennials. It's an absolute must. And with Shackley, we've been there forever. And then the third thing you mentioned is the earning opportunity. And I like what Roger Barnett says about democratizing entrepreneurship. I think that's a really great thing, especially now that we've lived through the last 18 months.
Scott, one of the things that I particularly appreciate about your story is the things that you have learned in between the time that you grew up as a Shackley kid and then now have come back to owning the Palmer Enterprises business. So why don't you save those for a minute, because I'd really like for you to bring those things in. And then let's meet Karen. And Karen, thanks for being here. When was this cute picture taken?
That picture was taken 2 years ago. That baby in my arms is now 2.5, I guess 2.5 years ago, because he was only 2 months there, and now they're 2 and 4 years old. And of course, that dog in the background is very important to me too. That's my son's and daughter-in-law's dog, who loves me, and I love him because he smiles at me every time he sees me.
Isn't that great? That's great. And where are your kids now, your grown kids?
My grown kids, Brendan lives in St. Louis. Actually, he's living with us. He does sound for concerts, and of course, that industry is really struggling. And he's away this week because he's doing a whole festival down in Arkansas. So he's having to travel if he wants to work now. And he had gotten out. He's 31 and was independent, and then realized, oh, can't do that anymore. So he's here, and he works at night, and when we're sleeping. So our son that has the children lives in Omaha, and he's in commercial real estate. And he, as a matter of fact, we just had a discussion last night. He's going to help me with my dream plan and finding property we'll share that another day, I guess.
Right now, that will come back and remember that as our future part. That's great.
Yeah.
So Karen, tell us something about, Scott mentioned a little bit about when he was growing up. What did you see of the Shackley business as you were growing up?
Well, my aunt and uncle, my mom was the one that found Shackley and told her sister and brother-in-law about it. And so they developed the business and did the business for years. And I saw the room that used to be the TV room for us became the office, the Shackley office, with all the shelving, with all the products on it. And when I went up to Pennsylvania to visit, I had to help them unpack and everything. So I saw that aspect of the business. And they were, really happy and did their business successfully. And when I became an adult in the 80s, I came into the business in 81. And I had attended three conferences, 2 when they were still alive, and got to spend time with them in San Francisco for the 50th. And then a couple years before that, when it was in Chicago. And so I got to see the telephone calls late at night, the same things that you were explaining, but I felt like they were just selling pills. I didn't understand that. But so when I started in 1981, I was living in Virginia Beach, and I was working out, and I had a job. I was a switchboard operator, and I spent 7 days a week in the gym, and started taking products and started asking people, hey, you need to get this stuff. You need to take this stuff. And when they didn't want to take it, I was like, yeah, fine. I don't care. I'll be healthy. You won't. So, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a system. I didn't know how to talk to people. And I was there by myself. So I didn't really know what I was doing. So go forward, speed forward here. And in the 80s, 86, I married my husband. And then when my children were little, I got certified as a personal trainer. And then I did therapeutic work. I did work with people with stroke. So I have 3 certifications. One is just a personal trainer, and then as a post-exercise rehab specialist. So after somebody has come through all the rehabilitation they're able to do, I take them to the next step and keep them moving. And then a movement disorder certification that has to do with where it's neuromuscular, and I've worked with a lot of neurologists understanding how the brain works and trying to figure out whether the interruption is from the brain or from any other part of the body. And so I recognized constantly how important the nutrition was for these people, but was not allowed to talk about it for 30 years because the facility didn't want me to. Now, that's not true. I did that for a period of 10, 12 years. I was allowed to talk about it, and the gym owner allowed me to. And that was when I broke out as a oh, see that? Director, thank you.
First time.
Yeah. And I didn't understand what that meant. All I knew is that I had a whole lot of people that were doing, taking supplements and asking me questions and everything. But When I left there and we moved to Atlanta for a year, all of that disappeared. So we came back here, and then I was trying to find a plan, and I just didn't have a system. I didn't know what to do. And my upline found MC Mentors and the whole queso experience, the development circle, leader development circle, and just seeing how that would work. And it has just revolutionized my thinking. I picked up Thoughtsmanship and read that twice. And then I read the Shackley story again. And so I have gotten to be really good friends with Dr. Shackley through the books. And every time I try to talk, I don't talk about him to people because I cry. And I just get all choked up, because to me, he was such a blessing for the world and for me ultimately, and all the people that will benefit from the products and from being in the business also. So today I have this MC mentor group, and I was part of the Branson bunch that went to Branson, Missouri. And that was a fantastic experience of 25 people that were able to make it. And we talked, Roland Osterhaus put that together. And it was great to be face to face with people, which we have lacked so much, that personal contact. But to hear them talking about the masters that were there, talking about how they had started their business and what they did and the mistakes that they made and what they learned from those mistakes, it was really great. And so I was real pleased. That sort of just has kicked me off, and I feel vitalized. I'm no pun intended, with my vitalizer every day, right? So anyway, I'm real pleased with how things are. And like I was saying earlier, I never thought I would be somebody that could use this tool as the phone, but I do. The Shackley Shares app is great. The Shackley company was doing such beautiful work for us to present to people, either on social media, or you can make a little invitation to a private party in your home. So
well, Karen, your transitional story is so powerful. And I want to come back to the new things that you see, because I know we're speaking to some people who may have been around the business for a while. And we're also speaking to people that may be looking at it as a new person. And so I think our heritage is very important, but I think it's also very important for those of us who are still learning to transition from where we started to where we are now, to take some of those things and figure out how we're going to best use them. So let's see what some of those things are. Look at what we get to celebrate now, that we didn't have these kinds of things that we could talk about before. So we know that we've got products that are safe. Look at, we've got this banned substance control group, that certified drug-free seal that we can put on our products. So if Olympians or any one of us commoners is using the products, what does it say? 496 compounds they check, 276 substances that are banned in sports, and 220 additional substances that are not banned in sports. But this seal, it indicates that the company has tested these things. And so our Olympians can feel comfortable if they'll go through drug testing. And then we talk about the extraordinary results that where would any new company be able to come up with saying all of the Olympians, and oh gee, the products have been up in space for 20 some years. It's that kind of heritage that gives us such a grounding, that we know our products that are safe and proven. I'm always interested in in comparing the safety things with what is true outside of the United States. And so if I look at this particular thing, the United States bans 11 different ingredients in our personal care products. But as you go up the scale, look at how many other products are banned. Europe bans 1,382 components, and Shackley bans 2,500 ingredients in their personal care products. I mean, it's just an extraordinary amount of testing, and then being able to certify the value and the fact that the products really work. We have the landmark study. Where else could you possibly duplicate a study that has people that have been consistently using products for 20 years and then 30 years and more, and compare the markers of these people and their health benefits? People can't believe it. And that's part of what Shackley has given us. So let's look at some of the things that we have now. Look at some of the things that we've been given that we didn't have before. What about meology? And Scott, I know this is something, would you like to take a minute and talk about meology, and of course also meology for kids?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that occurs a lot in my business is I get a lot of friends, family that ask me, okay, I want to feel better. I want to start taking the vitamins. What do I do? What should I take? And I always say the same thing. I say, just take a short assessment, and I'm going to send you the link. And all you have to do is take the health assessment. And based on the landmark study, it's a clinical study that was done by UC Berkeley, and it's published. And it's a great study that will it's the basis for our meology. And with the meology assessment, it's going to spit out with the algorithm. The algorithm is going to spit out a vitamin regimen that's recommended for you based on your goals, based on your health situation, and based on a variety of factors. So what I would do is take the health assessment, and then I would add protein shake to it. And then, of course, down the road, you can do skincare and biodegradable cleaners for your house, non-toxic cleaners, so you can get out all the chemicals out of your house. But that's the first thing I introduce to people is the meology. And the reason why I like to do that is I think it's a real professional way of presenting Shackley to somebody new, rather than me being a cheesy vitamin salesman and just says, oh, I think you should take this and this and this and this. Even though, like, I know the Life Strip and the protein shake would be great for most people, I'd rather have them do the assessment that's based on a good clinical study, backed by a good academic center. And what that spits out, they just sign up, and it gets attributed to me because it's my link. And usually I just get an email that says so-and-so has signed up and they've placed their meology order. And then I'll follow up with them and see how it's going. But that has really helped me introduce a lot of people to Shackley, I think, in a professional way, which is the way I like to do it. And then I think the Meology Kids is just a natural follow-up to that. That's brand new. I haven't really done much with that yet, but I do think Meology is a great way to get people into Shackley.
Karen, anything you want to add on that one as one of the big pluses?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with everything that Scott says, because everybody always thinks that they can take that we're kind of we're a pharmaceutical country and nation, and that's our thinking. So we take a pill for an issue, and meology gets you to look at the whole. It's very holistic, the whole body, and the answers come in a package, so it's not one pill, it's a few that are answering your questions to help you get optimum health.
And imagine the comparison when we all started, it was protein and Vital E, or protein, Vital E, and then you would start adding things, maybe it was herbs, maybe it was alfalfa, maybe it was whatever else. And of course, those options are still there, but now we have so much more science to back up the decisions and the choices that we make and that we can offer people, so we don't have to be the expert. We don't have to do those kinds of things. And then, of course, there's this nice additional piece. Anybody want to talk about prove it?
Well, just one other thing on the meology. The goal ultimately is to make the people that you're bringing into Shackley very successful distributors in the business. And if it's really easy to share meology with them, it's going to be real easy for them to share meology with others. And so what my goal is to bring people in with meology and have it real easy to duplicate when they share it with somebody else, because they're going to see that it's very simple, it's very seamless, and all they have to do is share the meology link with people they bring in, just like I did with them. So the easy to duplicate system is what's really important. I could easily spew out a lot of vitamins and data that I know based on years of experience, but instead of doing that, I'd rather show the meology, because that's what they're going to be sharing with others, and it's going to be real simple. And so the question on prove it, I'm not sure if I follow you.
Anybody want
you
to talk
looking
about the
for?
prove it challenge?
Yeah, so the prove it challenge, I think it's great. You get somebody in with a 7-day healthy cleanse, and then they get right into the system, and it's guaranteed to make you feel better. And so I love the prove it challenge, but I also just love the natural sequence of making people feel better. And if regardless of whether they do the prove it challenge with the 7-day healthy cleanse or just do meology and protein shakes,
Yep.
I'm not so concerned with one or the other, to be honest with you. I just
totally
like the
agree.
fact I like the fact that they're taking meology and the protein shake. If they want to do the 7-day healthy cleanse, I'm all for it too.
No, I agree. To me, the 7-day cleanse is it's like a gift that comes along with the basic package, and you could make that choice when you feel inspired. And if you want to start that way, that's great. But it's just one of the gifts that comes along with it.
Yep.
So let's talk. And of course, all of the things that we get to now say, these were not in our language before. To be able to say that something is non-GMO and, vegan and gluten-free and all of these different things that are on the labels. I can remember being in the corporate offices, so it's probably, 10 years ago or something. And I remember someone saying to me, look at this can and look what's going to be on the label that's coming out soon in the next variation of the proteins. It says non-GMO. And I said, what's GMO? And they said, well, genetically modified. And so this is not genetically modified. And I went, duh, who wants anything that's genetically modified? Well, that was obviously a few years ago because now virtually everything is. Right. But Shackley was pioneering that as a part of their labeling, that of course we're not going to have things that are genetically modified. So, just being able to make these kinds of statements. So let's finish with some of the things that are available to us now, because I think this is just a half-baked, just kind of a list. But when we talk about when some of us started and, all the things we had to deal with, as we are now looking, if we are looking at a millennial or a Gen Z, anyone who's coming in and looking at the business, these are the things that are part of their heritage. And these are the things that are available for us now to move our business forward. So, Scott, you want to pick up on any of these? We've talked a little bit about meology, but say something about your transition in having been in business, having been very successful in the medical device field, owning your own distributorship, and then getting fired, and then coming back and re-looking at the Shackley business. I don't want to take the whole story away, but incidentally, Scott's whole story is one of the things that is archived in the OPA archive, so you can hear his whole story. But would you kind of bring this back to today, Scott, about what you see about Shackley now, because you grew up with it as a kid and, went to coffee and ate donuts with the big guys and then got successful in business in, Boston and Harvard and all of this. And now you're back being a direct seller or, having this pills and soap business. Would you say something about that? Where we are now?
Yeah, I love the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki describes, and being on the right side of that is awesome. Having the freedom to live your own life versus, living a corporate life where they tell you where to go, when to go there, and you have no life. This is great, owning your own business, and all the freedom that comes with it is incredibly valuable. And then, in the bottom right, as an investor, you can take advantage of investment opportunities too. And so, I love this life, much better than that past corporate life, because, we're building an asset here. And just one other thing on Meology, if you want something that's Amazon proof, get people on Meology. You can't find Meology on Amazon. So that's one distinct business advantage of Meology. And so I really love that aspect of it. But just getting back to the business advantages of Shackley, we are incredibly fortunate to have a great company to back us, and a great CEO in Roger Barnett. And this is such a unique opportunity we have in a unique time with what's happened in the world. And like all my friends who are healthcare professionals, they are not loving life right now. It's not easy being a physician or a nurse in a hospital that's overrun with COVID. They are all burnt out. They're looking for other options. And what better option than to come on this side of the equation and turn sick care into well care? And so I just think, looking at my business, our business is up 20%. We are growing incredibly the last 3 months compared to prior year sales of August and September. And so, I always look at September sales of this year versus September of last year, and we're up pretty significantly. And I think it's a product of KSAO and the Solid Start Workshop, the MC Mentors, and all the action that we're in, and Richard Brook, and some of the activity that we've learned from that. And so when I look at a business system, I look for the advantages, and Shackley has some distinct advantages. And so, I just think for me as a second generation, the rule of 200 said this asset is worth 200 times your monthly income. And so that gives me something to really look forward to working for the next 30 plus years, so that I can hand it off to my children in a much bigger way than what I came into it as, because I want to do something productive. I want to, make sure I hand off something of significance to them, so I can be proud of that. So that's kind of what motivates me and gets me going every day.
What a beautiful story, Scott. Thank you. And Karen, do you want to say some more about when you, from your story, we always talk about Shackley's kind of got two sides. They've got the product side and the business side. For you, obviously, as a personal trainer and being involved in the fitness world and not having a system and not really understanding the business, you primarily started on the product side. What are the things, again, that have changed for you and that are opening up for you, the new generation now? You started to say something about them, but you want to say some more about those?
Well, as far as being able to share the opportunity, I actually even said once to my upline, I really am very uncomfortable sharing the opportunity. I don't know what to say. I don't like to do it. And now I feel like it's an atrocity if I don't share the opportunity. And but I didn't know how to before, but now I'm more comfortable just getting to know people and listening, and they give me the open. They are the ones that tell me what I need to say to them. And that has helped. I've done coaching with clients for years, in in doing personal training and trying to help them and, with their health and their fitness. So I know how to listen. And I just didn't know how to listen to them saying what they needed for their lives. You know what I'm saying? It's understanding their financial needs. I always felt uncomfortable asking about it. And now it comes up more often than not. They bring it up.
I think it's in everyone's conversation, and it's trying to make that bridge as for us to try to figure out how to bridge that gap. So both of you have mentioned the For Your Career book, which I think has just been a real gift to all of us to really understand the professionalism of the profession of network marketing, which is legitimate, it's gigantic, it is absolutely timely, and it's based on those same qualities that we mentioned earlier. How did the business work? Because you trusted people, because because of word of mouth, because of finding someone who had integrity, that was authentic, that told you their story. That's the same thing. But now we've got, social media and all kinds of other things to add to it. So, well, we're coming up on time, and I would like to, I'll give a couple of things that if people want to follow through on any of this. Karen and Scott have both mentioned MC Mentors. That is a collaboration of people. We're not even in the same business organizations, but is a collaboration of some of the leaders that are focusing on development of our business organizations, not just development of customers. And that's not instead of, but that is in addition to, with a different focus. So that focus is on mcmentors.com. And there are a number of resources that you can listen to, one of which is an interview, which was done with Dr. Queso, which is one of the people that Scott just referred to. So one of the things that we have that we get to look for is we've got some wonderful partner mentors, and we've got some wonderful role models of organizational development, because Dr. Queso is in Malaysia. He is a Shaklee Presidential Master Coordinator, and his personal organization is larger than all of Shaklee North America. And he is mentoring anyone who chooses to participate, and mentoring us in some of the steps of developing the business organization. So that plus the For Your Career book, which explains something about our profession, those things are available. One thing that we've started doing is what was always missing for me was, how do I ask somebody to take a look? So we have our Take a Look session, which is on introducing possibilities, and we're doing that several times a week. And it is prompting me and us to say, who can I bring to just have be engaged in who we are and what we do. If that's something of interest to you, you can actually go, there's a schedule that's posted on careerwithaconscience.com right now. There's a schedule. So if that's of interest, you're welcome to come and join us and see what that is. But that for us is taking a look at how do we open up people to all of these extraordinary possibilities that we have being part of Shaklee. So before we close, let me just say, Karen, thank you so much for sharing your story. And is there anything else you'd like to just add?
Well, I just had an experience today. I've been doing calls, and the man came to check on my moles in the backyard. And I asked him if he could carve out 30 minutes sometime this week. And he said, I have time now. I said, oh, okay, come on inside. And I opened up my iPad and we watched Introducing Possibilities, and it was wonderful. We had a great conversation after, and he is going to talk with his wife this evening, and I'm going to call him tomorrow.
Terrific. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
That's just the taking a look. Isn't that great? I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing
thank you.
that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being a part of our next generation. And now we get to bring in those even following us in age, so they create the next the next generation. So Scott, any thoughts from you?
No, that's it. Just thank you very much for helping mentor me and get me back in the business. I've really leaned on you a lot, and Roland and on Hal. So I'm filled with gratitude how helpful people like you have been, and Charlene was really helpful too, as well as several others that we don't have time to name. But it's just really great to have a Shackley family that's filled with so much support. And like you said, even though we're not in each other's upline or downline, we're in separate businesses, but everybody's willing to help. And so that really helps people like me, second generation, third generation folks get back into the business. So thank you.
Well, it's great to have you, Scott. And what people don't get to see is that everyone contributes, because we value the experiences that people like both of you have had outside of Shackley that you're bringing back into it as part of the new generation. So thanks for that. So let me close and we'll put this back to Scott. But what I would like to do is to offer, are there any of you who have any stories or questions that you'd like to ask, things that you would like to just add to the conversation? We would be happy to hear from you as we close our call.
Carolyn.
Yes.
Hi there. Sue Holdren.
Sue.
I'd like to make a couple comments regarding the Prove It Challenge.
Absolutely.
First of all, my background is coming from the nursing field, and it was amazing to me the number of people out there just every day run of the mill back several years ago, so it's less now, that really didn't understand the role that what they ate had with how they felt and what their health was. It just really was surprising. But with the Prove It Challenge that we have now, it's giving the person, first of all, that guarantee of feeling better in 30 days, if they give that a chance. It's proving to them the role of what nutrition has and how they feel and their health in general. But it also gives proof to them how committed Shackley is to its mission of sharing wellness. Because starting with the Prove It Challenge, they not only would receive a free, simple, gentle cleansing program, and it's free because they offer a great price for that first purchase of the Prove It Challenge, $159 instead of $242.50. It's backed by all that fantastic landmark study science. So you've got that in there. Also, you've got the option of adding Meology as part of the Prove It Challenge and seeing that. Plus, you've got the free membership that gives that new person the 15% discount for the rest of the products that they're going to want to use to Shackley-ize their health and their home. So it's a fantastic tool, along with Meology, for getting that new person really getting results and getting started with the company, which
That's
is a
great,
fabulous
Sue.
thing for somebody starting a new business. Here's this wonderful tool.
Great. Thank you.
In fact, the very name of the Prove It Challenge comes from the landmark study, the second one, where they didn't look at just people who were using it, our products, for extremely long term, but even people who were just using it for 5 years and 2 years. And they did one part of the program where they started people who'd never supplemented before for a 30-day period, followed by a 90-day period, to see how well they did. They did extremely well. And so the whole point of the Prove It Challenge is to prove it for yourself that you can do the same thing as these people who were studied.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, David. Well, as we close, I think it's only appropriate to bring in Alan Sherapin, and I see maybe Ashley is there because you all are one of the two generational business leader teams. Alan and his wife Hannah come from my decade, my era of building the business, and their daughter Ashley is now a rising master coordinator coming along. Alan, anything you or and/or Ashley would like to add tonight?
All right, I'll go first.
Sure.
If anybody's ever thought about building a business in your circle, double commissions for the next 90 days, gotta be a turn on. Wow. That's an extra $3,000 for just doing what you do. Jump
That's a
on it.
great, that's a great additional reminder. Alan. You want to just say another sentence or two about that?
Well, everybody you bring in now, 50% off the distributorship. So it's $25 and they have an opportunity for these double commissions. It's got to be a real attractive hook introduction, whatever you
beautiful.
want to call it, to have somebody listen to you. What do you
That's
think,
very-
Ashley?
That's great. Hey, Ashley.
Hello. Yes, I am. I mean, growing up in this business, I've always loved and been, this is what I wanted to do my whole life. So when they add some really neat incentives, especially something that's never been done, like double commissions, I mean, something to really use to your advantage in prospecting and recruiting people, because it's really exciting. I mean, the innovating that this company has done and everything over these last several years is exciting. We just got to keep going.
That's
Get
great.
there.
Well, and so I'm assuming that you can relate to the past and the present part of Shackley, and you represent the generation that really appreciates all the things that are available to us now, that some of our more experienced folks are still trying to learn to do. But thank you for pioneering the next generation. And I'm sure you're looking now at what generation is going to follow you too. That's
Absolutely.
great. That's great. Well, congratulations. Well,
Thank
Scott Holdren, I will turn this back over to you, and Scott Palmer and Karen Sullivan. Thank you guys so much for just doing some bantering about our before and after. And so our mission really is to focus on the legacy that we can create. We come from an extraordinary heritage. And so now it's our opportunity to create the generations that follow us and to begin absorbing all of these new tools, all of the things that are available to us, and to take this on so that our kids and grandkids can look forward to enjoying what Shackley's made available to us also. So thanks everyone for being here. Scott Holdren, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Well, Scott Palmer and Karen Sullivan, thanks for your words. It was terrific. Great insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Great to see you.
Thank
And it's great
you.
to see everybody on the OPA team.
Great. Thanks
Oprah.
everyone for joining us.
Nice to see you all. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Bye-bye.
Take care.